Everyone, welcome back to the Nerd Smash Talkcast. I am LT Thornton, and I'm joined by my always loyal, always faithful co-host, Mr. Steve Woods. What's up,
Batty,
Steve?
Batty.
What
up, man?
You know what it is? We are doing a very special episode in review for the film that just dropped, Morbius.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of
Now,
Morbius
when
talk.
you say we, you. I'm
yes.
not.
Of our group, I was the one to subject myself to Morbius, because going into it, we had heard a lot of very bad reviews, and we played Rochambeau until we came down on one of us, and that was me. Nah, honestly, I wanted to see it because once the reviews dipped below a certain point, I was like, okay, this is either the worst thing ever, or this is like way overblown. Either way, I feel like I'm going to be entertained. So, that's pretty much what this bit is. We are just going to talk about Morbius. Heads up, we will be getting into spoilers for Morbius. If you have not seen Morbius or plan to see Morbius, you might want to hold off on watching this episode on YouTube or listening to this on the podcast stream, since we are going to be getting into heavy details, and we're just going to talk about it.
Are you gonna give me a Nerd Smash Talkcast rating here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, let's remind them what we got.
Yes, please do.
Let's give them the rundown. The very bottom of the list. Can't get any worse. Mud butt.
Okay.
Next up, just above that, watchable, but why would you? 720p.
That's right. That's 720p. It's not quite. It's not quite 1080.
No.
Who chooses 720?
Who does that? And why?
Right. I understand.
Why do you still have a 720p TV?
I understand if 720 is like the best option available to you in that moment, but like if you have 1080p, why are you choosing 720?
Yeah. Next up, we have our Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, or Liam Hemsworth. Or Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
they're fine.
It's all right.
They're fine.
It's fine.
And that would signal what that movie that we're rating is. It's fine. It's okay.
It's a Liam Hemsworth. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Good rating. Well, good is Demolition Man.
Yeah, have you guys seen Demolition Man? It's not the best movie in the world, but it's pretty good. It's at least
good.
Watchable.
It's good. I watch it every time it comes on. It's good.
Exactly. It's good. It's just good.
And then the ultimate Nerd Smash Talkcast rating. Video game windscreen. You know the feeling, LT.
Oh yeah, that Final Fantasy da 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 da, or the Mortal Kombat fatality, or dun dun dun. Like when you hear that music, that's the ultimate in achievement.
Yeah.
Although I might have to say, maybe this movie deserves. We need to add a new rating to the top.
Maybe it does.
Maybe.
We'll have to see when we get there.
We will.
But I wanted to also remind everyone of some of the reviews that you have given us and where those scores landed.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So just for reference, the very bottom of the barrel for you, the very worst was the Book of Boba Fett, because that to you was mud butt.
Yeah, I remember. It was, man, it's a shame what happened to my man Boba. Shout out to Boba.
And then at the top of that list, opposite end of that spectrum, you gave the Mitchells versus the Machines a video game windscreen.
Please go check that out if you haven't seen it. Please.
Yeah. So there we are. There's our two polar opposites.
Yeah, and I didn't realize you had gone back and checked our scores there.
Just so I remembered, remembered what we. Here's the thing, listeners. I have not heard what LT's thoughts on this, and I am so excited because this is a movie that I feel like is going to be the worst. And his face tells me that he doesn't think that's so. Now, he might be trying to catfish me.
Steve, but the advertising hyped this movie up as a new Marvel legend has arrived. This might be a masterpiece.
It did.
Yeah.
And I haven't really read a whole lot after it came out. I knew that people were hating on it, but I was really kind of waiting on you to let me know. And I've seen both, right? I've seen, it's pretty good. I've seen, it's great. I've seen, no, this is terrible. So yes. I really wanted to know where you fell.
All right, so we are 5 minutes in. Let's go ahead and get into this cinematic experience of Morbius, Sony Pictures Morbius. So, first and foremost, let me just say, for anyone expecting me to just come on here and begin just trashing this movie, it's not going to happen. Morbius is a flawed film. It has deep problems. Okay? But there's also a lot that's happening that isn't, I won't say that it's like the beginning is at least interesting. You're engaging, you're learning about the backstory. It's jumping around a lot in the beginning. Don't know why it's doing that, but we're going through. We're finding out, Morbius, his upbringing, the things that he struggled with. We also learn about Morbius's friend. Okay, I have to bring this up. Like I said, we're getting into spoilers. So, Matt Smith is in this movie, okay?
Yeah.
And I think pretty much everyone surmised Matt Smith is the villain of the movie, right? Even though we only really saw him in one shot in the trailer. So,
Matt Smith.
I do too.
Yeah.
Matt Smith's character is named Percival. And he meets Morbius, who is like the genius kid in the hospital. And Matt Smith's character, Percival, has the same exact disease as Morbius. Okay. And he introduces himself. He says, "Hello, I am Percival." And Morbius says, "Oh, hey, Milo." And he goes, "Well, but that's not my name." And Morbius goes, "Well, yeah, but the kid before you's name was Milo, and I don't tend to get too attached to the other kids that are here, so I'm just calling you all Milo." That's not the exact word for word, but that's basically
the gist,
the summation of it.
Dead kid joke,
sort of. Okay. So here's my question. My first issue with the movie: why does every character call this character Milo for the whole rest of the movie? It's not just Morbius that calls him Milo. Even after they have shared traumatic experiences, they become like brothers through their disease, but he still calls him Milo.
What?
Even up to adults, and then the other people that know and reference him, they also refer to him as Milo. His faux father figure, also calls him Milo.
I would not have been able to pull my head out of that.
That's in the beginning.
How did you watch the rest of the movie?
I didn't know that was what they were going to do the rest of the movie. I was like, well, clearly, when other people see this character, they're going to call him Percival.
Clearly.
Yeah. And when we get to later in the movie, and they're like, "Hey, Milo," I'm like, And by that point, I'm locked in. I'm into Morbius. So, they cut to him in the current day. He's testing on bats. Everyone says, "Please don't do that." He's going, "Yeah, but I'm gonna."
Yeah. Because why not?
Exactly. Evil scientist syndrome. We managed to figure this out. And he decides to rent a cargo ship and hire a bunch of mercenaries to go into the international waters and, test himself with the bat serum to cure the incurable blood disease that he has, right? And his disease is so bad, he needs like daily transfusions, okay? So obviously things go awry. He becomes Morbius the living vampire.
Wait a second.
Yes.
Now, if you were going to do this thing and you were confident that it worked, you're just going to use it on yourself. Nobody else around.
Right.
And you felt like you had to get on a ship and do it. Why don't you just rent a storage unit at your local CubeSmart and just do it in there?
Well, because he didn't want to get into, I guess, trouble or get anybody. Because he had a doctor friend with him that needed to inject it into his spine.
So he probably didn't want the doctor friend to get in trouble more than himself. Because if it doesn't work, he's dead anyway.
Although we find out Matt Smith, who is jealous of Morbius's newfound vampire powers, just takes the serum and we just assume he drinks it in the hallway.
Oh.
And then I guess
fine.
He becomes another Morbius. But,
Another Morbius. Okay. All right.
He becomes
I see
Morbius
how this is shaping up. I could see why you thought it was okay. All right.
But here's my favorite thing. Anybody that's a Doctor Who fan, Matt Smith is totally Doctor Whoing it. He is being an evil 11th Doctor, and he's just chewing up as much of this role as he can, and he's having fun. And I genuinely enjoy when he's on the screen.
Okay.
That's Leto
a positive, definitely.
Jared Leto is like this muted energy like this whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
So Jared Leto.
Pretty much. So, there's a lot of stuff plot-wise that happens. Here's my thing, okay? Morbius starts out kind of interesting. Once the Morbius transformation takes place, the movie just becomes powerfully boring. Just almost insufferably boring. And that's where things drag. And this goes all the way through the final act. It's just not interesting. Morbius is not interesting enough of a character. And I had this issue coming into it with the comics. Because I'm just like, it's Morbius. It's Michael Morbius, the living vampire. Like, he wasn't interesting. He's probably my least favorite arc on the Spider-Man animated series. Just like, man, we're doing the Morbius arc now.
With Blade in the animated series.
Blade would have made this a lot more fun.
You don't that was it. Yeah, he was in there, right?
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. I just that's the real shame of Morbius. I think somewhere in here might have been something that probably would have worked a lot better. I don't know if the comedy works in this movie quite that well. There's bits of comedy. Also, a lot of the scenes that are like in the trailers or some things that are implied, not in this movie.
Wow.
You remember the scene where Morbius is walking down the alleyway and there's the Spider-Man poster, it says murderer?
Murderer on it, yeah.
Not only is that poster not there, I'm not even sure that the scene happens. That scene.
Yo, that's messed up.
Pretty messed up.
That is a bait and switch.
That part gets worse. So what I will flag this movie as egregious for is the bait and switch with the larger connections to the Spider Universe. There's some bait and switch, and there's some what? That is sure. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. But yeah, I just want to say, if you are planning to see this movie and you're listening to this review right now, do not see this movie expecting any kind of Spider-Man connection, really.
Okay.
There is no Tobey Maguire. There is no Andrew Garfield. There is no Tom Holland.
Thank you for clearing that up for me, because I was thinking that there might have been. Okay.
There's references to there is a reference to Spider-Man in a post-credit. There is references to Black Cat in the Daily Bugle.
Okay.
There's a reference to Venom, but there is not direct, except for the post-credit. There's not direct Spider-Man reference. You would think, oh, maybe he swings in, or maybe he shows up in a post-credit. I don't know. So, big muddled fight. There's also a ton of like CGI smoke effects whenever he uses his powers or whenever he flies. That makes it super, super complicated to understand what is happening.
That's so generic.
The end fight ends up looking a lot like the first Venom movies fight, where you're watching these two goo monsters battle it out, and you're like, what am I looking at? So, I wasn't interested in a Morbius movie coming into it. And then they started kind of getting me there. I was like, okay, well, this is progressing in a way that might somewhat become interesting. I'm enjoying Matt Smith. And then it fumbles the bag, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. It does. Now, again, if you haven't seen it already and you're listening to this, first of all, and you want to see this, first of all, why? But second of all, I want to talk about the post-credit scenes now, because they deserve their own category and discussion.
Now, was J. Jonah Jameson in this with the Daily Bugle and...
No.
Black Cat was in it, though, with the Daily Bugle.
No. Black Cat was a byline on the newspaper page of the Daily Bugle that said Black Cat is, I don't know, afoot or something like that on the Daily Bugle paper. Yeah.
Terrible. Okay.
All right. Post-credit scene. All right. So we're getting the big fancy Morbius logo, which is just wild to me to see the words, the stylized Morbius, like, intro, and, like, the movie starts and we go into this M. It's like, Morbius!
Why, though? Why does it even
I don't know.
exist?
Because we're trying to make this cinematic thing happen. So, post-credit scene. First post-credit scene happens, okay? There's two.
Oh?
Yeah. So, we're looking at a shot of the city, of New York City. Purple sky crack opens up from Multiverse of Madness. Okay? So you see the sky open up just like it did.
Or No Way Home.
I'm sorry. In No Way Home. Yes, you're right. Sky opens up, and earlier in the movie, Morbius was arrested, right?
Okay.
And because they were like, hey, you murdered all these people. And
because you're a vampire and you murdered people, so let's put you behind bars.
Exactly, correct, okay. Yes. So we cut inside of the jail cell that he was in, and fading into existence, you see Michael Keaton's Vulture. You're probably asking, how does that work?
How does that work?
It doesn't.
That spell was supposed to bring everyone knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man into No Way Home. So
for some reason, Doctor Strange's spell kicked Venom back out and sent him back, but it also... Well, now, no Venom, but remember at the end of No Way Home, we saw Venom went back to his universe. Well, I guess it made a mistake and it sent the Vulture to this universe.
Did it say that? What did they say about it?
So it cuts to a news report, and a lady goes, a recently discovered man, Adrian Toombs, was found inside of this jail cell, but police have no records of him, and they can't figure he committed any crimes. So
they had to let him go.
We're going to let him go.
But did Adrian Toombs exist there?
Nope.
Like how...
That man does not exist.
I have so many questions. Many questions. Did he have an ID on him that said Adrian Toombs, New York, New York?
He had.
Or did he just said, "Hey, trust me"?
He might have just said, "Hey, I'm Adrian Toomes," and they're like, "You're right. We don't have a way to prove you're not you.
Trust me.
Bye."
Wow.
Yeah. So they kicked him out.
Other than not having a social security number and any information connected to that Adrian Toomes name, because that person doesn't exist in whatever universe this is happening in.
Right. And he came over just in his prison clothes and handcuffs and stuff, and he's like, "Whoa." He's like, I think I'm gonna like it here. Or something like that. Yeah,
I guess I don't understand. I don't understand the connection. Or how they made that connection.
Real weird, right? Real weird. Then we get to the second post-credit scene.
Okay.
All right. So it's Morbius. Morbius, throughout the whole movie, Morbius is fighting this bloodlust. He's keeping himself strong by actually drinking artificial blood, because if he succumbs to the real blood, he may not be able to stop himself from doing the whole thing. Or, from becoming like his arch nemesis Milo / Percival, or whatever his name is. So he's keeping himself from drinking this blood, right? It's a problem. So he defeats his arch nemesis, and then he flies off into the distance. We only got 3 gargoyle shots, bro. Or
wait a second. Now, was he in jail?
Who, Morbius? No.
Yeah.
Well, he was in jail, but he got out.
Okay.
And so he is he's free. He's defeated his brother. By the way, the police also figured out that his faux brother, Percival or whatever, was the actual vampire that was killing people. And Morbius, he only killed the people from his original transformation, but I guess they can't prove it.
On the ship?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like I said, he defeated his villain. We cut to the second post-credit scene. Morbius sees a car, and he goes, "Cool." And he hops in the car, which is like a really nice, fancy car. And then he starts driving. And then he keeps driving until he ends up just in like the middle of nowhere, I guess. It's hard to determine. It seemed a little bit like a desert, but maybe it was just outside of New York. I'd have to watch it again to figure out exactly where this was. But just imagine like a big open area. I think it was a desert. Okay? And then the Vulture, in all of his gear, comes flying up and stops in front of Morbius's car where he's waiting. And he goes, "Dr. Michael Morbius, thanks for meeting me here." And Morbius says, "Hey, I got your message. What do you want to talk about?" And he goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you about Spider-Man. I think we should team up and do something about that." And then Morbius goes, "Huh, that sounds really interesting." Boom! End of movie. Morbius.
Wait a second. Does Spider-Man exist here?
I guess we'd have to say.
Just got to this world. Oh my god.
Toomes is the one that brings up Spider-Man, but the only Spider-Man he knows is the Peter Parker Spider-Man from the MCU, which we thought he pretty much ended on good terms with, because he wasn't revealing his identity.
Right.
Even though he knows it. But now he's recruiting Morbius to do something.
So weird.
Yeah.
That sounds like there's something missing somewhere.
Well, we know for a fact. So the scene where he's next to police cars and he's, has an exchange with Morbius. And he's like, Dr. Michael Morbius. We should talk sometime. That scene does not happen at all. So what we have to assume is that there was some kind of reshoot that probably occurred.
Some kind of conversation between the two of them. Maybe okay. All right. I'm with you.
So I saw this theory, and I don't want to say that this is exactly what happened, but I want to present this as a rumor or a theory, that Marvel might have saw this movie and was like, ooh, absolutely not. I think this movie had way tighter connections to the MCU.
Wow.
At some point. And I think Marvel might have been like, ha, no.
You think Holland was in it?
No.
No.
Because I think Holland was pretty clearly, like, not in it. I don't think there was ever a Spider-Man in it, necessarily. But
okay.
I think, I think maybe Sony thought that Morbius was now connected to the MCU.
Why?
I don't know. Another theory that I have is that Sony had no idea what was going to happen in No Way Home. And remember, it got pushed back.
Yeah, pushed back. You might be right about that. Because they have a broken movie because they had no idea what was going to happen in No Way Home.
They might have thought that whatever happened in No Way Home just merged their universes together.
Right.
Instead of, and at the end of the movie, go back, get out of here.
Yeah. You might be right about that, man. They may have just assumed that if they knew that was something was going to happen with the multiverse and Spider-Man were going to, be together, that they just took their liberty like, oh, we can do this like this.
Either way, it feels like there was a panic move that kept these franchises from being a thing. So
gotcha.
Well, it's a shame.
Let me
for
ask
Morbius.
you this before we hear your review. Can you tell me 3 good things about it?
Yes. Matt Smith is my number one.
Okay.
He is pretty great. The second thing, I think there is a horror scene in the middle of the movie where a lady is being stalked. What we eventually find out to be Matt Smith's Milo or whatever. That is legitimately, it's like kind of creepy, has you a little bit on the edge of your seat. It's a great scene.
Yeah. Okay.
And I say the third thing is like the initial setup, some of the backstory, the human elements of like, Jared Leto's condition, Morbius's condition, how he's helping other people with like blood conditions and stuff like that. That is legitimately pretty good.
Okay.
But, outside of that, it's just a lot of boring, a lot of missed opportunities, and a lot of, I think, false advertising for how this thing was supposed to connect to.
So wait a second. Something I completely skipped.
Yeah.
We saw Michael Keaton and his character Toombs in the trailer and in the commercials.
Yes.
And this is a post-credit scene?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
They gave you that scene in the trailer, and technically he does have that scene in the post credits, but the scenes that we got were never in the movie at all.
That's so weird, man.
Yeah. So they could have probably been like,
you use post-credit scenes for like a big impact, a big shocker, a big reveal.
Yeah, they really shouldn't have shown us Michael Keaton was this, but you could tell how it feels like there was a sense of desperation to try to be like, hey, we got Morbius in here.
Gotcha.
Or we have the Vulture. Things are going to connect. Yeah. And it might have also, it feels a little bit icky because it feels like they sold you on a Spider-Man probably showing up at some point in this movie, or at least in a post-credit.
Felt like that.
Yeah. So, as for my verdict, drum roll, I am going to have to just go ahead and end up with a mud butt. It's way too boring. If it was just boring, it would be a 720p, but the post credits and the connections and some of the other kind of story beats that were weird. There's also one scene I forgot to talk about that was in right around when he initially becomes like has his Morbius powers, where he is in a tube basically surrounded by bats. And I swear to you, the scene and the score is lifted directly from Batman Begins. You should actually go and find the comparison on YouTube. There was a side-by-side of this scene in Morbius with the scene from Batman Begins, and it's not using the same composer. So they just straight up lifted, basically ran the same kind of soundtrack during this scene to try to evoke Batman Begins with this. It's super shifty. It's stuff like that makes me give this mud butt.
I feel you, dog.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I didn't lay my trick money down to go see this film.
Yeah, this is definitely like a rental. Like,
yeah,
I think it's worth seeing at some point because there's a lot of things that are trying, and this stuff is going to matter later. Like, we're eventually going to see the weird combination of Venom, Vulture, and Morbius team up.
I don't like it, man.
It's weird.
I don't like it.
It's
aren't they doing a Craven movie too?
We got Craven coming, so we're 4 of the Sinister 6 in, I guess.
Stop! Stop!
Yeah, I don't remember the Sinister 6 including Venom and Morbius,
but they had to they have to do their own thing, I guess, right?
I guess I don't know.
And was it like a trade-off? Like, hey, you give us this thing, Sony, and we'll give you Vulture. I
wish I could tell you.
Oh man, that's.
But anyway, those are my thoughts.
That's something.
If you guys have seen Morbius, reach out to us on social media or on any of our open platforms. If you're seeing this on YouTube, leave a comment. Just let us know what you thought. And maybe if we're being a little too harsh. I know there are a lot of people that think it's actually a really good movie. And I don't want to slam it too much. This is also my personal opinion. But, I just don't think I don't think it delivered on a lot of the promises that it set up. And then the structure of the movie is just not that engaging to begin with.
Well, there it is, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you going and taking... Oh, we forgot something, man.
What did
we forgot your general setting. That is such a big, important thing to the Nerd Smash Talkcast.
Yes.
Where did you go see it, and how was your viewing?
So I saw it at a Phoenix Theaters, which is the movie theater that I use to also go see the Batman. My movie experience remains great. My ticket was $11.
Okay.
I got 2 $3 hot dogs. Woo-woo.
Nice.
And when I walked in, there was me and one other guy in the very back of the theater. So,
nice.
I kick my feet up and chill out and watch this movie that nobody saw. There was like 4 trailers beforehand too. So,
any good trailer?
Sonic 2, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So is that your next movie?
I got a Multiverse of Madness trailer.
Don't you?
You said, is it my next movie? Yeah, I think Sonic 2 is probably my next movie.
Nice. Well, we'll look forward to hearing that review too, man.
Yeah. You gonna go see that one?
Probably not in the theater.
Okay.
I'll probably wait till that hits home. I think they go straight to...
Unless it's great.
Unless it's great. I could be... Look, I could be trying to see that on Saturday night.
Uh-huh. You saw Fast 10. You saw Fast 10.
I did. Dang.
Was it Fast? Wait, is it Fast 10 or Fast? I lost track of the Fast.
9.
Fast 9. Okay.
I did.
For 9.
And I paid for other people to go see it.
Whew.
Yeah.
Expensive.
So. Yeah. I might just have to go see Sonic just on principalities.
Yeah, on principalities. All right, guys. That has been our review of Morbius. I forgot the movie that we were talking about for a second there. Please let us know your thoughts about when you get a chance. And also check out our regular episodes of the Nerd Smash Talkcast if you get a chance to do so.